Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my guest today is Larry Hebert, a councillor with the City of Thunder Bay. Welcome, Larry.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. I'm glad to be here.
So, Larry, let's go back in time. Let's talk about your early days. Were you born and raised in Thunder Bay, or where are you from?
I was Fort William in those days, in sort of where the old car barns was on Walsh and Franklin. I lived a couple of different spots in that area, but generally that area. I went to school at Isabella, Kingsway, and FW.
And so, have you been in Thunder Bay your whole life?
I was away at university getting my MBA for a year and a little bit, and that was the only time I've been away. All my jobs have been here in Thunder Bay and my interests. So.
And so where did you get your MBA?
University of Toronto.
Okay. So you got to see the big smoke up close for a while.
Yeah, and it was fun. I like Toronto. I'm a fan of all the Toronto teams. I'm kind of slow learner, but my Leafs are coming on this year. But yeah, I enjoyed being down there. It was great to be there, and actually, because I did some work part-time when I was going to university here for CKPR or TBT now, I got a press pass and got to go see the Grey Cup that year I was down there.
Wow, so, that must have been a thrill.
Oh, it was great.
For sure. Well, tell me about your early days in work here in Thunder Bay.
Well, I first worked at St. Joe's Hospital in personnel, and then moved over to the LPH in personnel, and then moved to Hydro in HR personnel, and became the general manager. I was the first person with a personnel background to become a general manager in a municipal utility in the province.
So this is Thunder Bay Hydro.
Yeah, Thunder Bay Hydro.
Locally owned here.
Yep. And actually, Harvey from Sudbury even bettered me. He was president of the union and then became, because his background was HR too, and then became the president of Sudbury Hydro. So it was kind of interesting. So we used to trade stories.
So when did you start out with Thunder Bay Hydro?
1975.
1975. And so you continued kind of moving through until you were, was it the general manager? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I became general manager, interim, because my boss got sick. And I took over in 82, and he passed away, unfortunately, and so I became full-time general manager in 83.
And you stayed with that until?
Just my last year. I was sort of consulting in the business, doing a couple special projects, and that was 04 when I retired, end of May.
All right, so you've got a long history there with Thunder Bay Hydro. 04, you retired. And then you started getting interested in municipal politics, or how did politics enter into the scheme here?
Well, I've always been interested. I actually ran in 74, wasn't successful.
Oh, as a young fella.
Yeah, as a young fella, yeah. Ran in 74. I had just won the JC's Outstanding Young Person of the Year, so I thought, well, that'd be a good spring. People read about that. And I think I ended up 10th. It was a net large vote, I think, back then. Ended up 10th. And so it was... interesting. So my appetite was whetted, and I moved on from there. And I ran and was successful in getting on one of the boards locally in 04, and I stayed on till 08 actually. And then I ran in the 06 election for councillor at large, and I've been sort of the avis of that business. I came third or second every time I ran. The 3 times I ran, I was second. I was second to Ian Angus the first time, second to Ken Boschkoff the second time, and the third time I was second to Ian Angus again. So I've been consistent in being second.
So 2004 was your first. Now, what board was that you got involved with?
It was T-Baytel.
T-Baytel. So that was the board of directors of Thunder Bay Telephone?
Yeah.
Okay. And then moved into municipal politics, 2006. So what were the issues that were important to you that were motivating you to get involved with municipal politics?
Well, back then, as you recall, there was some issues with some of a couple of the councillors of the day, and there was pretty well wholesale change. 7 of us came in that year as new people because there was an appetite for change, because there had been a pretty stormy relationship between some of the councillors and other councillors and administration. So, as I said, 7 of us got reelected or elected for the first time that year, I believe. At least 6, maybe not 7, but and so. And most of it have been there since. 5 of us have pretty well consistently been there since then.
And how many sit on council in total?
13 in total, 5 at-large councillors, the mayor, and 7 ward councillors.
So 2006, we saw a whole big wave of change that was taking place.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the core, has it, since then?
Yeah, council hasn't changed much. I think last time there was two changes in a sense. Frank Pouliot came back, and Shelby Chung won, and she was on. So basically, new councillors. Paul Pugh, that was his second term. He ran in 10 and got on and was successful again in running in 14. So it's pretty win a core of council. I was served under Mayor Peterson first, and then the last two terms under Mayor Hobbs.
So how do you see council working now? So you've been on now 10, 11, this is 11th year.
11th year, yeah.
We heard it was pretty ruckus back before that. How is it working now from your perspective?
Well, I think we get along okay. We always don't agree, and that's fine. And I've been on the wrong end of a lot of 11-1 votes, but that's okay too.
11-1? Yeah. Oh my gosh, Larry.
Anyway, so probably a unique point of view sometimes. And so it's been good. I think we generally get along. There's a lot of respect there, and we work well with administration as well.
So what were the key issues back in 06 that you really wanted to bring forward to council? What was the motivating factor for you?
Well, again, trying to bring some semblance of order back, because it was, as I said, a pretty raucous term, the one previous, and so I think a lot of people wanted change, and that was reflected in the votes for council, and so I wanted to see the change. Also figuring, with my background is very involved in the city in a number of volunteer events and things like that, that I could offer, my leadership from Hydro and my days there, some real, I think, help in terms of getting the agenda moving. And, we have lots of things to do, infrastructure and things like that. So we moved along, not probably as much as we want to do, but municipal politics is limited in the sense we only get to spend about 9 cents out of every tax dollar is spent by the municipality. The rest are the federal or provincial governments. So.
Well, that's a whole issue that I want to delve into maybe a little bit later. But your experience with Thunder Bay Hydro, I'm not sure if it's normal for municipalities to have their own hydro company or not. Is that a normal thing in Ontario?
Well, yes, it was. Actually, back in my day, there was over 380 utilities. So communities like around here, there was 11. Almost every little community had their own little utility. Then when the system changed back in 98, when Premier Harris brought a number of changes in, divided up Ontario Hydro into its separate corporations, a lot of things changed, and utilities just couldn't afford. So actually, Thunder Bay Hydro has done a lot of the backroom work for some of these utilities. But now we're down to 5 in the region, basically, and plus Thunder Bay Hydro, and then the rest is Hydro One, either as a utility or Hydro One remote serving some of the northern communities.
I mean, because that's when I remember hearing your name was when you were the manager there at Thunder Bay Hydro, because that was such an important component of everyday life, really.
Yeah, and we had good rates. All the utilities in the province actually were debt-free. Now, at that time, Ontario Hydro carried the big burden of the system in terms of any of the infrastructure, the big capital projects like wires, generation projects, was all in Ontario Hydro at the day, and they cost, they spent a lot of money because they had the responsibility of keeping that infrastructure up. Of course, Thunder Bay took care of its own little infrastructure in terms of distribution, assets, etc. And so it worked well, I thought, the system. I'm not as pleased today, and we can see where some of the things that have happened since 98 are leading us in terms of our rates.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.